You're listening to LA40 with Katerina Cozias, only on LA Talk Radio.
Good morning, Los Angeles. We are back here at LA Talk Radio, and you're tuning in for another episode of LA40. This is the show where we explore all things that have to do with life after 40. And no, you don't have to be living life after 40 to tune in, but what we do talk about is various thematic things that happen and how they change as we get a little bit older. I am very excited to have in studio with me today award-winning director Yannis Sakaridis. Yannis, welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Good morning. Absolutely. Yannis is here. He is visiting Los Angeles from Europe, basing out of London and Athens primarily. And you are here because we are very excited to say that your film, feature film, Amerika Square, has been okayed, it's been green-lighted to be considered as a potential nominee for foreign language film at the Oscars this year.
That's right. We are the official selection from Greece for the foreign film. And we have another possibly nomination for the music by Minos Matsas.
Original musical score?
Yes.
Fantastic. I would love to see the Greeks because I'm Greek, as you know, if you follow me. So I'm a little bit partial to Yannis as a guest today. But the reason I wanted to explore your film for a number of reasons, but the main reason, and one thing that I want us to get into a little bit later in the program, is this idea of tolerance. And we're going to share with the viewers what the film is about in just a moment. But what I'd like to explore today with you is, as we age, as we get older in life, does our tolerance, does it become wider for differences, or do we pull in and sort of revert and have a fear for tolerance? We're going to get to that in just a minute. But first, Yannis, Amerika Square, I would like you to share with the audience a little bit about the plot line.
Sure.
And then we'll delve into how the film came to be. So what is the movie about?
Okay, so Amerika Square is a square in Athens. Is in the middle of Athens, and that was the focal point in the end of 2015 for 1.2 million Syrian refugees. So that was the place where everybody was going to get a piece of paper and wait there until they find a solution, which is a smuggler or someone or a journey or a ticket. So this was, let's say, the modern Casablanca, where everybody was stranded there. People were sleeping on the square and everywhere else. And seriously, I mean, that was the only comparison I can do with the old classic Casablanca. So these are three characters there. A tattoo artist who is the regular, the classic sort
protagonist male, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he's the hero.
And we have his friend who basically grown up together on the same building, Nakos, who is the banal, we call it racist, and the third protagonist is Vasilis Koukalani, who plays the Syrian refugee who comes to Greece with his daughter to get an exit
right away from the travesty and the devastation and the realities of his country. Amerika Square is it's a wonderful reflection of the realities of the migrant crisis that was hitting Europe. And as a reminder for those of you that we've been watching this in the news now for 3 or 4 years, this crisis, but especially in 2015, 2016, it really did hit a culmination where a lot of these refugees from northern Africa were coming in to the southern Mediterranean countries, right? They were coming in through Greece, they were coming in through Italy, a little bit through Spain. But to put it in context, Greece's population is roughly about 11 million people. To have 1.2 million refugees come into the country, that's almost a tenth of the people living there that were coming in with no facility to be anywhere else but living and sleeping in a square.
Yes, and we're talking about the one is 1/5 of the population in Athens.
Right.
Imagine what was happening in
Yes.
Athens at the time.
Right,
So
6 million people in Athens, and 1 million of them being people that are stranded. And
so talking about tolerance and talking about imbalance, people who didn't have the capacity, and thankfully was very few of them, like Nakos, our protagonist, they got unbalanced. They didn't have the tolerance to get over the amount of people who suddenly they are in the streets of Athens.
And the thing that I like about this movie is because of these three main characters and the way the story is woven, and we're not going to give away too much of the plot because we do want you to see the movie, but the way the movie is put together, they have Billy, the tattoo artist hero, if you will, Nakos, who is his best friend, who has become very intolerant, as Yannis said, of the migrants in his space. And then we have the Syrian refugee father, who is a very well-educated man, and yet he has been left to the mercy of society in the hopes that he can make a better life for him and his daughter. And what I like about this story is you have different people with different levels of tolerance for migration and for refugees and for change. And you saw it with Nakos. He really took his anger and his frustration out on the refugees in his environment because he saw them as taking over what used to be, in his mind, his middle class neighborhood where everyone was, well respected. And because of the migration and the influx of the refugees, that particular part of the city was starting to be looked at as lower class,
Sure.
as more dangerous. And so he really took it offensively that why are these people in my space?
Exactly.
But I think your movie has really done such a fabulous job because it makes us aware of the plight of not only the people that are forced out of their home, but the people that are forced to take them in.
Yeah, it is. It's a prime example between Nakos and Billy. They lived in the same environment, same building, same sort of social stature, and basically they are, from the same sort of educational and cultural backgrounds, and they react in such a complete different way to that what happens in front of them, and. So, one of the things we can say here that, you're not born racist, you become racist. So, and we try in a sort of sober way to explore that and to ask questions. And also, what is interesting is that, someone who listens probably thinks that it's a slow European film with, we try to make it closer to larger audience. We try to have humor, and we have this great score at the back, and with fast editing, we thought that we can bring it to larger audience and have sort of cross the questions that we raise in a sort of wider environment.
Absolutely, and it is good for a wider environment. I had the pleasure of being invited to the film screening. So I did see this movie a few days ago, and it has won Best Greek Language Film at the Thessaloniki Film Festival.
Yeah.
It was also Best Feature Film at this June's Los Angeles Greek Film Festival. And what I liked about it was exactly that. The film was made in Greece, it was shot in Greece, most of the crew and the cast are Greek, but the way the film is presented is a way that has a commonality, a social language that people from all over the world can certainly relate to.
Sure. I mean, we for example, there's English language, Arabic, and Italian into the film, and also we get a great reaction from around the world. We won many audience awards, including the one in Beijing. So you could see that people respond to that, and this is sort of a study and raising questions and all these sort of subject matters.
One of the things that was very evident in the film was a tattoo that appeared a few different times on in various areas, and the tattoo was "Refuse to Sink."
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about the relevance of "Refuse to Sink."
Yeah, we did. Obviously, we did a lot of research into tattoo culture, and obviously, tattoo culture has been, for the last at least 10 years, has been a major influence to, especially my generation, our generation, and younger. So basically, all the refugees who travel to these long, dangerous journeys from Africa and from Middle East, the only thing they are sure they're gonna get by the end of the journey, untouched, is a tattoo. Everything else they could lose. Anything else, the clothes, the money,
their
the
material
possessions,
objects,
everything
right.
else.
Yeah.
So it's a very common thing for even for people who never had a tattoo in their life. To have a tattoo as a motto or as a reminder or as a sort of ID on them, and most of them, I mean, our research shows, it is about sort of spiritual, about God and family and love my mother, but the most popular one was a refuse to sink, which I find it extraordinary, and find it is a sort of really comes from.
I was going to say it's deep because
Yes.
it has the practical element of literally refusing to sink as you're crossing the Mediterranean, because that was a big risk.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times did we see in the news that these boats full of people just didn't make it? But also, once they arrived onto the shores of Europe, right, of this promised land, so to speak, refusing to sink metaphorically, because even if you made it across, there was no guarantee that anything was going to be much better for you. The uncertainty of being at the mercy now of a system, of governments, of borders. So refuse to sink was a big theme throughout this movie of yours.
Yes, and also let's say that is a really good motto for Greece in general, for Greeks who lived the crisis the last few years, and they could associate very close to that. And
you're talking about the austerity measures that Greece
Yeah.
has been facing.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean
Yeah.
Greece.
And then we took it to the film as well, that we
Right.
refused to sing because it's such a hard thing to make a film in Greece.
Yeah, I want
So
to
we
talk.
kind of thought,
I was going to say I want to talk about the practicalities of making a film in Greece in 2015, 2016, 2017, because I can imagine the landscape there has not been very conducive to governments granting money for the arts right now. And for those of you who are familiar with European politics, I mean, all of the world suffered a major economic recession, 2008, 2009. By 2010, that really had trickled into Europe. But Greece was hit very, very hard and had to endure a lot of changes when it came to the distribution of government funds, of finances. And we both have spent time in Greece. We have family in Greece. We've seen the changes that have taken place in the last 10 years. But talk to me about practically making this film. I want to go back for a moment because the film is partially based off of a book called Victoria is Missing. Was that the title?
Doesn't exist.
I'm sorry, Victoria Doesn't Exist. Talk to me about the book and how that morphed into the movie.
Okay, so the book by Yannis Sakaridis is a novel which mostly describes Nakos, the banal racist.
Right, Nakos is the friend of the tattoo artist who was very angry. Right.
Yeah, and through my research about Amerika Square, was that
now America. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Amerika Square is actually the name of a square in Athens.
That's right.
Right. Correct. Okay.
That's right. And because I lived in London for 18 years, and when I went back to Greece, just before the crisis, I started researching Amerika Square because I thought that was something that was very close to my sort of cultural background
in terms of
filmmaking,
as a possible theme for a movie.
Yes, and also it was going really well with my London sort of multicultural background, and obviously I know how it is to be in a country away from your own country, let's say as an immigrant. And also, I'm coming from a refugee background. My family is from Constantinople or Istanbul. However, Greeks call it Constantinople. Turks call it Istanbul. I'm not going to go into that. So researching all the aspects of Amerika Square, I came across with Yannis Sakaridis' wonderful novel, which gave the film a depth, a sober study of what it is to be unbalanced and not racist. But I mean, he's almost a racist, but you know.
You're talking about Nakos, the character,
Nakos,
right?
And I gave a really good sort of study on the area and how the area changed slowly, but very quickly became the focal point for all the refugees. I mean, people in Aleppo knew Amerika Square. They would go there and they will find a way out. Right. So Yannis is another Yannis.
Right.
Sakaridis' novel was basically had Nakos and was mentioned a tattoo artist. So we took that from.
You took that and sort of tried to morph it.
And obviously we worked the script together. So Yannis was
contributing as a writer. Now your background as in film is actually coming, I think, originally from the editing side.
That's right.
Okay, and so you moved to London to pursue theater, to pursue the arts.
Yes, I moved to London to study filmmaking. And somehow I was at the beginning of the digital age in editing. Okay. And I became very quickly assistant editor. I was lucky. I got to work with David Yates, a film director who later went to do all the Harry Potter movies. Okay, so I got really very quickly doing documentaries for Channel 4 and BBC, and I've done 15 feature films as an editor, and also did a lot of trailers for Warner Brothers. I ended up doing the last film by Kubrick's film Eyes Wide Shut. Wow. So all this gave me a lot of confidence to go back and start writing script. I always wanted to write and direct. So that was the only way, and for me. And so I dropped everything. I dropped my agent and my good life in London. Went back to Greece. Wow. To start writing the scripts, and to start a new life. What do I know? You know, what it would happen afterwards. So that was my background.
How much of that type of a move do you have to rely and really dig deep into a sense of belief in self? Because as you say, you effectively imploded a life that you had built over many, many years, and a credibility that you had built in order to probably pursue a little voice, pursue a calling.
Yes. Yes, I always wanted to make a film in Greek, and and going back to Greece to do a couple of movies as an editor, I thought that there were some great actors who live there, and I thought that this is my destiny to go back and
really help contribute, I suppose, to the Greek filmmaking with the
Yes.
talent that you were bringing.
Yes.
Now, how do you move from editor to director? You just thought, I can do this?
Yeah, when you
'Cause
when
that's
you
a
edit,
shift, you know?
yes, when you edit, you are somehow the second editor, and but the editors are the most unsung heroes of the filmmaking.
Says an editor, right?
So you never see an editor in the making of. You never see,
Right.
You can see
true,
everyone
right.
else
Yeah.
apart from the editor. It's only because
He's in the back making it. Right.
only because the whole film passes by the editor who is sitting quietly behind a Steinbeck or now these days a computer. So all the editors out there they can understand that how far and how deep knowledge you need to have in order to edit. You need to know about cinematography, shots, how rhythm, music, sound.
Who were some of your heroes growing up in film?
Sure. I mean, I always loved. Being in Hollywood, I would say I would start from Billy Wilder.
Okay.
He did this great film, Sunset Boulevard, which we just passed by.
There you go. Right. And how is that? Do you feel an element of having seen your dreams realized? I mean, you're in Hollywood right now. Your film is being received. It may be up and shortlisted for an Oscar. It may go all the way. We just don't know. It really is a powerful film. Do you feel as though you're living into a dream right now?
I feel that first of all, I've got a responsibility for all the people who worked in the film to do my best here, and also this is great. I mean, let's not hide behind anything. I mean, this is fantastic to be here. This is my first time here.
Okay, yeah.
So
You're
I thought it
enjoying
was
Los
very
Angeles.
appropriate to come here in this type of occasion.
Yes, of
So
course,
my
right.
sort of kind of European art house background allowed that to happen.
Yes.
So I've got an excuse.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes,
So I
right.
didn't come here as a
Just
tourist
to hang
taking
out,
shots
right.
of Sunset Boulevard. So yeah. So and again, I mean, there are some great American directors and filmmakers. It's been, I mean, this town have seen some of the best films, and sometimes in Europe we try to sort of underestimate, but there's a great knowledge and deep tradition. And let's not forget, a lot of things happen here from beginning of 20th century.
Right.
I like all sorts of American films.
Right.
I love obviously there is a lot of influence from the 70s, the political films from the 70s, and also I love Woody Allen's films.
Right, yeah, just
Yeah.
the creativity behind those. I'd like to go back to tolerance for a minute, because you have lived a portion of your life in Britain, a portion of your life in Greece, in Athens. With the migration that Europe has felt, I mean, we're talking 4 or 5 million people have come into.
Yeah.
This is the largest migration of human beings since World War II.
It is the biggest refugee crisis. Since World War
It really
II.
is. And so do you see a different tolerance for people coming in and wanting to settle, wanting to assimilate in England versus in Greece? Do you see a different sense of welcoming them by the community? What is your, having lived in both countries?
Yes, I mean, first of all, Greece hasn't known different cultures in their society. I mean, obviously, Britain being the capital of the world, really, in terms of different cultures for a very long time, since the 50s and 60s. So we have a second, third generation people from around the world.
Right, absolutely. If there's a melting pot anywhere, it's London.
Yes.
Right.
So at the same time, Greece has been a white middle class society for decades. So we never had people from other cultures growing up in.
I was going to say Greece has been traditionally very, very homogeneous as a society, right?
But I have to say that the majority of people have helped in any possible way during this refugee crisis. A lot of people took refugees in their family, and they helped. The government did their best.
And this is now a government with no money, right?
Yes,
I mean, we're talking about trying to open your home at a time where you don't have enough for your own citizens.
Yeah, at the same time.
It's been a very challenging time.
Yeah, at the same time, you
Greece.
have thousands of Greeks leaving the country
Right.
because of the economical crisis. We had the biggest immigration of Greek people leaving Greece.
In terms of a brain drain almost, because
Yeah.
there was a lack of opportunity, a lack of work. Young people were finishing universities with nothing. The unemployment rates, especially in places like Southern Europe, I think at one point Spain was up to 27% unemployment
Sure.
for people under 30. I mean, what are they supposed to do? And so you're right, they leave for bigger economies, whether that's the United States, whether that's Germany.
Yes, and so the Greek government and the Minister of Immigration, Mr. Mouzalas, have done incredibly well handling this crisis. We saw, I saw through the film all the different stages. I mean, we were in December 2015. We had like the 1.2 million hit,
Right.
and then we had the same people in the film that went to a temporary camp in the old
the old airport there, yes, right.
That we see in the movie. And now we went last month with Minister Mouzalas to the camp where the same people live in air-conditioned flats and in a really human environment.
Right.
So all this have been developed into that.
Wow.
So it's been a hard work.
Yes.
And refugee crisis, you can never. I mean, there's no glamour into it. I mean, whatever you do, in the end of the day, these people are away. That all they want to do is go back to their country.
Of course, right.
All the people, all they want is for the war to stop, and they could go back to Syria. So whatever you do, whatever you give them, whatever shelter, house, palace, whatever you do, there's always these people gonna be wanting to go back.
And this is, I think, part of the fallacy that that especially in North America we are sort of fed into. And I've been fortunate enough to have lived in both continents, but there is this fear of taking in immigrants and taking in migrants and refugees. I suppose a migrant is more voluntary than a refugee who really is leaving for safety. But the thing that I think North Americans forget is that many times these people would rather be home. They are not wanting to be coming into your country, but they have no choice.
Yeah.
And so, that's a big thing. And I think Greece has done a wonderful, wonderful job of not being indifferent to the suffering. And we really saw that, especially on some of the islands, where these boats would turn up with people on them. Greece would run to help in whatever manner they could, as you said, whether it's to give them shelter, to give them food. And so I'm happy to hear that, we've managed to build out at least some sort of infrastructure, as I'm sure they continue to wait to move further into Europe. Right now, we have, I believe it's Germany, Austria, and Hungary who have taken in the most refugees, but all of Europe is trying to assimilate them, although the Eastern Bloc is being a little more hesitant, the former Eastern Bloc.
And also in the film we see the other side of immigration. We have the second generation Teresa, who comes from Africa, and she grown up in Greece and speaks perfect Greek.
Teresa is one of the lead female characters.
Yes.
She's an African American singer,
Yes.
living in Athens, speaking Greek, but clearly second generation. You know.
Yes, and she still got no papers and no passports. So she, in order to leave the country and to escape from the human traffic and the people who basically abuse
Think they
her,
own her, right?
She's taking the same journey as all the refugees from Syria. So that's that, and obviously our rock star tattoo artist falls in love with her, and I'm not going to tell you what.
Right, we're not going to give away the plot. Tell me a little bit about the cast, because it's a very interesting mix of characters. Some of them are very well-known Greek actors, and some of them are new. This was their first film.
Yeah.
How do you balance dealing with a veteran actor versus somebody who's never been in a film before? That
Yeah.
must be interesting, an interesting challenge as a director.
Sure. I mean, first of all, what I do when I make a film, I cast first the story that I've already written, and then I'm writing the script knowing that the actor who's going to play it. So the actor gives a lot from his personality and his character into the movie.
And you can kind of tweak it a little bit depending. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we don't do a lot of rehearsal. We just believe in improvisation, but we do a lot of talking. So and that needs a lot of trust when you go to the shooting, because
talking the dialogue between the characters, you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
And it needs a lot of trust. So I trust them and I love them, and they go. And so this cast here is the protagonists are top actors in Greece. They've been playing in theater for many years.
Can you name a few of the names?
Sure. It's Yannis Sakaridis, Vasilis Koukalani, Makis Papadimitriou, Themis Bazaka, Xenia Dania, and Erikos Litsis, and Alexandros Logothetis are
Xenia is a veteran. Years
yes,
in
Xenia
Greek
is the only
theater
veteran out of this list.
Yes. Right. She played the mom of Nakos, correct?
No, Xenia is the singer.
Oh, I'm sorry. Xenia is this was her first time.
Yeah, this is the first time.
This is one of her first films. Yeah, I'm getting my characters mixed up.
The mother of Nakos, Themis Bazaka, she's been in more than 50 films, and she's been in theater, and in the theater tradition in Greece is great, and these are actors who've been played in Epidavros, and we're talking about an
classical
ancient
theater,
an ancient Greek theater.
When you think of where drama and theater, the birthplace of it,
yes,
it's these theaters built into the mountains,
and basically we have a theater there which is 15,000 capacity, and a lot
and
of
Rodion in Athens as well, right?
It's similar. So these are great actors who are into fantastic material year in, year out, and the way to do it is, as I said, is to trust. And to give them love and confidence.
I was going to say, so you basically frame the scene for them,
yeah.
Right? They have an idea of the script,
yes.
But they can work it, because the casting was fantastic, really, really well done, and the chemistry between the characters was also really well done.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about your budget and about how long this film took, because I think I tried to go there and then we got off topic.
Sure.
So actually making this film from conception to the end of it, go.
Yes. Okay. So just to finish what I was saying before, so mixing the amateur and the professional actors, I think the way to do it is just to trust them and just throw them into the scene and try to get the reaction. Yes. Greek cinema is it's been having a really good exposure the last 10 years. And we are
International exposure, you mean, or nationally?
International exposure with directors like Lanthimos and many other who made films, and they've been in the international film festivals. And I think Crisis have given us a sort of a way to they made Greece for all the wrong reasons, popular into media and to everything. So a lot of people try to get to see what's going on in Greece, and because of cinema is the mirror of society, has been travel. Greek films have traveled a lot. So the Greek way to make films is very similar to all the European. Is a mixture of guerrilla filmmaking at state fund sort of structure. So you go and you sort of fill all these applications to get some funding, to get some funding, and that's it can only be controversial, for some people who don't get the funding and for the people who get and it's very little money for the state funding to sort of spread around, and so what we try to do is we try to do European co-productions. So this film is a UK, Germany, Greece co-production. Obviously, my producer friends from my time in London helped me, and that's always great. George Lemos and Nikos Frangos, who are supportive from my first film, and then this is my second film. And obviously Germany is my cinematographer, Jan Vogel, who brought in the German side of things. And from Greece we have the Greek Film Center and the National Television. But that, all this is, in the region of 300,000 euros. So, I mean,
how do you make a movie with $300,000?
Talking in Hollywood,
right?
That's like peanuts.
Your budget for a set for a week.
Yes.
Right. Well, no, for a set for a couple of days.
So, and my first film was we shot my first film for 30,000, and that was world premiered in Toronto International Film Festival. So, you've got to be a hero every day on the set, be really smart, 150% aware, and get the best people around.
But I'm sure that fuels creativity, right? It fuels. I would assume creativity and efficiency.
It does,
because you have no choice, right? You have no choice. You have to deliver.
Yes,
right.
And also be humble about what you are asking and what you are sort of what you want from the day from the days shooting in locations that are not that expensive, and obviously all the friends, family are part of this, and actors. Most of actors have a morning shooting, and then in the afternoon they will go to some rehearsal on the theater, and in the evening probably they are playing in another theater.
Right. So you've got people juggling to make this happen.
So you have to be a mathematician to work out all the different schedules and all the different sort of cross sections. So I mean, that's the reality, and you take it, and I have no complaints. The great thing about this is that you have 100% artistic freedom, and you live in environments in Athens, which for me at the moment is one of the greatest places to be as an artist and as a filmmaker, because there's a lot going on around you. And talking about the crisis, the last 2 years, Greek people have become very mature, very
with
quickly.
respect to their reality and,
Yes.
and having to live and work and perform under this new context.
Yeah.
Right.
So you have to sort of move on, and you have to be really good on what you do, because there's so much competition internationally, and also you don't want to be left out, because it's hard work, filmmaking, everywhere you do it, and it's the same sort of principles apply to it. Sometimes people who in Hollywood, they would like to have the 100% artistic freedom,
Right. But
you know.
they don't if
Yeah.
they're not the ones controlling the resources.
So
Right.
yeah.
So it's a give and take,
So
right?
it's a give and take.
Yeah, right, absolutely. I'd like to take it back to something you said earlier, because you yourself were born in Greece. You went to study abroad. You decided to build a life there. If you had to do it again, would you immigrate to a country, or would you have stayed home?
Yes, that's a great question. I would do it again, because the sort of intensity and the world class level that I worked in Soho in London, and the people that I met and worked with, and also the university and the film school, and the international sort of approach and global sort of view of the world. Probably, yes, I will do it again. And I think, immigration, and it was in my DNA. I left Greece at the same time that my grandfather left
At the
Istanbul.
same age?
Same age.
Oh, wow.
So it's sort of, somehow, yes.
Interesting parallel right?
there.
Yeah.
And it was very, very close for me to come to United States, but at the time, obviously, it was a bit too far, and the green card issues compared to the European
right.
citizenship sort of played the role to go to England.
To keep you there. But you're now back living full-time in Greece.
Yes.
How do you like that?
I love it.
Yes, I would love it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Greece, and I love being there, and there's it's a very close. We're like a village, the artistic world there.
Yeah.
But
Tight
everything is
community.
but everything is very approachable.
How has your film been received there by the refugees? Have they been aware of this film?
Yes, we tried to make it aware. We went to the camp to play the film, and also we are part of the Global Immigration Film Festival, which is shown around the world in 200 different sites. And we're opening actually this festival in Vienna and in New York. And this is a festival that plays in large cinemas in around the world, and also campsites
Right,
everywhere,
different,
and
right, I
from
was gonna say
Libya to
wherever
to
there
wherever.
are, right, Afghanistan, wherever.
So yeah, and in our last screening in the camp, this woman came to me and said, I feel for Tarek. I am Tarek, and
Tarek again is the Syrian from Aleppo with his
Yeah.
daughter who's 9 years old, trying to
Yes.
figure out how do we move out of Athens into Europe for a better
yeah.
life. And there's some twists and turns in this one. We're not giving it away, but that tugged at my heart. Tarek's story.
And because we tried to make it, we didn't want to show boats and we didn't want to show people in the sea. We tried to see a regular doctor like Tarek living a middle-class environment with his daughter, a very safe middle-class environment, like me, you,
Sure,
our
right,
parents,
yeah.
everyone.
In a city, Aleppo was I say was because it's been blown to
Yeah.
pieces, but it was 1.5 million people.
Yeah.
Aleppo was a big city,
Yeah.
it's a sizable community. Yeah.
And so obviously these people, they never knew they're going to become refugees, So I wanted to take that sort of point of view to see that this could happen to anyone, and this is not something that anyone expect to live in his life.
Yes, right.
You know, so in a way, this is a Tarek's story is a true story that happened to a woman, a doctor, who came to Greece with her daughter.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it's based on a true story. Yeah.
Absolutely. What takeaways do you want this film to leave people with, the audience? What do you hope the audience gets from this film?
Just to think that we had an approach, and we love both worlds. We can understand and feel passionate about the refugees and Greek, the tattoo artist Billy, but also we come very close to Nakos, and we get to know him. And in the beginning of the film, we laugh with his jokes and his presentation of the society. I mean, slowly we start realizing how deep into that. And we just hope that one day he will get over his unbalance and his
dislike
sort of,
for the
intolerance.
Right, exactly. And like we mentioned, it is about tolerance, and I think as a collective society in 2017 going into 2018, in a world where we are bringing more and more people into this place, where 8 billion people over the next year, we are going to have a lot of tolerance for each other.
Yes.
And I think the importance comes in to having empathy, having compassion, putting yourself in the shoes of someone else. Because as you say, by the grace of God, have our homes not been bombed, and have we not found ourselves on the receiving end of, I need some food, I need some shelter, can you please help me? And the hatred that can sometimes come with that.
Sure.
So I applaud you for the social impact that this film may have. I applaud you for the creative way you have made it entertaining. And I think that for me, that was what I got out of it. It's not to the point where it's a documentary and you're feeling that the weight of it, but the weight is not lost in the entertainment value of what you've been able to achieve. And so to you and your team, and to the actors and the cast and everyone involved in the film, I wish you best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely. Yannis Sakaridis, Yanni, what is next for you in terms of filmmaking? Anything on the books?
Yes, we're writing and we finished my next script, which is very close, talking in Hollywood, is very close to Magnolia. So it's another assembled cast. And
Magnolia with Tom Cruise.
Yes.
Right.
And talking about loss.
Okay.
How different people react to loss, and how people loss of identity, loss of a child, loss of.
I was going to say that's certainly another universal theme, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
but going like deeper into our souls and just looking at human behavior, and so yes, this film is going to be called Omonia, which is
another square in Greece.
which is another square in Greece,
That's
but
funny.
also is a sort of a great sort of a word that I love. Is to do with coming together, and I think Omonia is what we are missing.
All striving for, yes.
And what we're striving for,
Absolutely,
exactly.
absolutely. Well, I certainly look very forward to that film.
Yes.
And for those of you who have not seen Amerika Square, please try and get it. Is it out now? Can people go to a Netflix, or is it not released, distributed yet? Where can people see it if they're not physically in LA today with me?
So yes, it's going to be released soon in US by Corinth Films.
Okay.
And we're hoping to get it into Netflix and
kind of the
yes.
larger global distribution channels.
and we have already distribution in China and in Spain and Turkey.
Well, winning the Oscar will certainly help with that.
Yes. Well.
We're going to leave it there. We thank you for tuning in. This was Yannis Sakaridis, award-winning filmmaker. You've worked on 17 award-winning films, and we are now hoping that your film that you co-wrote, directed, and I'm sure were very instrumental in the editing as well.
I'm the editor. I'm the editor of the film.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go. Right.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes.
Which probably makes it very interesting because you can then cut it exactly the way you saw it in your mind. Right.
Yes.
Fantastic. Yannis, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure having you. Thank you for tuning into LA40. I'm Katerina Cozias, your host, and we'll see you again next Thursday. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Bye-bye now. Oh.
You're listening to LA40 with Katerina Cozias, only on LA Talk Radio.